Well, hello and good evening, and welcome to Live in the Hive. I'm Michelle Eagleton, and tonight we have got a jam-packed, ginormous, amazing show for you. So please do stay with us. We've got some absolutely great guests. And of course, I'm here in my hive, in my garden, with my scampi fries and with my peanuts. So I'm all stocked up for a great show. I hope you're having a brew, or maybe something a little bit fizzier than a brew at home with me. Tonight is about getting involved with you as well, because we are live streaming. So if you have got any comments throughout the show, please do put them in the comments box, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. It's about you just as much as it's about the show and the Hive. But I've said we've got some great guests. You may have been teased by them on social media during this week, and notice that I'm a little bit, if not a lot, excited about who we have got on the show tonight. Well, coming up a little bit later on, we are going to get all hot and bothered. Why is that? Because we have got the leading man from Bat Out of Hell, the musical. He's called Glenn Adamson, and he plays Strat, and my goodness, is he sexy. He's very sexy. Oh my goodness, he makes you get all hot and bothered, and his vocals are fantastic. If you want rock and roll, you have got rock and roll a little bit later on. And if you also are interested in how writers get their work on TV, radio, and theatre, well, there is just one person that we can have, and she is absolutely fantastic. She is called Becky Presswich, and she has wrote for the likes of Holby City, Casualty, the Bolton Octagon, and Radio 4. She's going to be joining me a little bit later on this evening too. I told you I had a great show in store. We've even got some happy news with our Daisy later on. So if you've sent in something this week, then do watch out for that. You could be featured on Live in the Hive. Now, I have got to say a great big international welcome this evening to our friends from overseas, because this week has been very, very different. I have been pinged by people from Belgium, from people from Chile, from people from America, from France, from Middleton. And they have all been very excited about my first guest. So I welcome all those people who are joining us this evening. And that is for a very special reason, because earlier this week, I got to meet somebody very, very special. Ooh. Shall I give you a clue? I tell you what I'll do is I will keep the teasing going, because first up, we want to get happy. We want to get ready for this moment, but we want some happy news first. So without further ado, let's have our happy news bulletin with our Daisy, and then we can get to the person in question. Ooh, exciting! Here's Daisy.
Hello and welcome to Live in the Hive's Happy News with me, Daisy Eagleton. Mandy and Jess' 35th wedding anniversary is coming up on Monday, and they are from Texas, so hello from England. Owen Collins, aged 10, is becoming the deputy head boy of his primary school, and his friends and family are very proud of him, so congratulations. Well done to Maria Goody and family, who raised £445 walking for Spring Hill Hospice in memory of her mum, Irene. Send in your news to Live in the Hive for a chance for your news to be read out by me. Bye!
Bless her cotton socks. What is she like, Daisy, with her happy mood music? She's very excited. Oh no, people. We can't do this already. It's breaking the tension, guys. Do you know what? He is previous, and why not is he previous? Look, I'm going to scroll him back, and I'm going to take him out of the stream. We needed to build up the tension there, didn't we, guys? We really did, because I know you're all waiting for it. I have got Lynn Law getting very excited now. Lynn, she's asking the guys if they're planning to do a rock album or collaboration. We may have that answer very soon. Welcome to Fabienne, who is watching as well. And just for our Daisy, Maria says a big, big thank you. So I've just kind of teased. I'm going to introduce the wonderful Carlos Marin from Il Divo. Here is what we got up to earlier on this week. Take a look. You have had 30 million people buy your records. You have, gosh, done 6 world tours and gone to number 1 50 times. Carlos, I bow down to you. Il Divo are incredible. How does that make you feel when you hear all of that?
It's amazing. I mean, I must say, after being together for close to now to 18 years since we really began, because we started in 2002 to do the first edition, and then 2003 was the first time we ever played in front of Parkinson. Do you remember Parkinson, the Parkinson program?
Yes.
That was
Oh,
the first program
a
we ever did.
legend.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So yeah, I mean, that's been amazing. I must say, so many #1, and now we just released the new Motown album. And we're gonna do finally the tour. We're gonna be together again. Well, been the tour after 1 year and a half to not being on stage. So this has been crazy.
That must be very weird because, you know, we're used to seeing the 4 of you together. Obviously, with the pandemic, you all must have been in different parts of the world. How difficult was that for you in terms of keeping that connection together?
It was really, really difficult. I mean, obviously, we used, I mean, part of the time to do this new album, the Motown album, because obviously the way we did it, it was a really, really other way to do it. Because obviously we did it. Everyone was in his own country, and we did it through Skype with our producer Alberto Quintero. So he was speaking to the guys. The guys, they were in America. I'm in Spain. So he lives also in Spain. He lives in Barcelona. So he was having the sessions for him at 3 o'clock in the morning, recording with the guys who were doing the live recording at the studio at their time in America. And so it was quite difficult. And then when we got the harmonies, we were just having a chat all together on Skype and saying, okay, you take this harmony, I do this one, whatever. And then we were putting everything together. So it has been a very special time. It took us about a year to record. Because...
Well, I mean, that is incredible, because to listen to it, you wouldn't think that at all. You would imagine that you're all in the same room having that same vibe. And I think that's testament to the fact that you have been together for so many years. But tell us a bit about like the album, because everything that you touch turns to gold. But I have to say, I love Motown.
It is a beautiful album. I must say we were really skeptic at the beginning, because we didn't know if this would work. I mean, obviously, imagine having Marvin Gaye singing "Ain't No Mountain High Enough," for example, with his voice and our voice. But suddenly, when we go to the studio, we were trying to still get this kind of Motown flavor without taking out what Il Divo is, with this big high notes at the end. But we did it, and we used a little more pop voice at the beginning. I mean, to match it more to the other partners of the duet partners. And then, well, we just did it. It was an amazing experience, because obviously he was another kind of voice we have found also with Il Divo. But at the end, obviously the big endings are still there, and that's why we tried. I mean, to do it as a new kind of Il Divo, and that's why we always try when we do a new record. We always try to find other ways to surprise our fans, and that's what we did. I'm very proud of this album.
Talking about your fans, oh my God, I think I've become the most popular person in the world after saying that I'm interviewing you, Carlos. People have been getting in touch with me from Belgium, from Chile. They really are fantastic, loyal fans. So I thought I'm going to reach out to them and get them to ask you some questions. Now, funny enough, one of the questions is to do with the album. I've got a lady called Lynn says, do you each have a choice for the theme of your albums? So does any of you in particular put forward that theme? So obviously this time it was Motown.
Uh-huh. It was more coming from our management and record company, because this album was supposed to be released a year ago. I think it was a year or 2 years ago. No, 2 years ago, because that was the 50th anniversary of the Motown. So then, I mean, we couldn't do it, obviously, because this pandemic has absolutely stopped everything. Yeah. So then, well, we said, okay, let's do it anyway. So, and let's release it, because it's something really new, and it's like like a new kind of style, as I said. So I must say that each of us, we are really surprised, and we can't wait to be on stage. I mean, to sing those songs on stage, because it's going to be really really fun to do it.
It is. It is. She also asked as well, do you think you'll ever do a rock album?
A what? A rock
A
album?
rock.
A walk? What is
A
a walk?
rock.
A rock album.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean, anything. I mean, for sure, we could do anything. I mean, El Divo can do whatever. I mean, after the Motown can be rock, and we spoke about it. I mean, to take all those fantastic ballads from the heavy metal singers and just convert it in El Divo. Yeah, I mean, we can investigate anything.
Oh,
for
I
the
can
next
see
album.
you
Who
doing
knows?
Meatloaf, Carlos.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Now tell me a bit about the tour, because obviously we are really looking forward to seeing you guys in person. Going back out on tour must be fantastic, and you've got my favorite things wrapped into one. So you going out on tour, but also at Christmas. This is your Christmas with El Divo tour, isn't it?
It is. It's going to be again. Well, no, not again, because we never did it in the UK. We did it in the States in 2019. And finally, we're going to do this beautiful shows. It's going to be a really beautiful, beautiful Christmas songs with of course songs from the new album and songs from the oldies. But it's going to be really intimate with the audience, because I think it's going to be a big orchestra with us, and just telling the story, and just make the people dream again after all these 2 years. I mean, to be involved in this craziness, well, to be happy again, and that especially us too, because we love the fans, and just having the present of having this applause from the audience and from the fans, and just everything. So we can't wait. I mean, it's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be brilliant. Like you say, there's going to be some of the songs from that Christmas album, some other classic songs as well. Debs, one of your fans, says, you guys give me goosebumps when you sing.
Fantastic. Yeah, I must say they give me goosebumps when they clap. So that's something. That's amazing. That's a giving, it isn't taking. That's something special. I mean, but we have really something special with all the fans. I must say we have amazing fans. They always support us, even if we do solo careers, not solo, whatever. I mean, because as you know, we mix everything. We do sometimes solo shows. We go together again with El Divo, and then we do this, we do that. But again, the essence from El Divo is always there. So we always go back to do this fantastic El Divo songs all together.
Now, not only are you incredible singers and performers, but you're very stylish. I mean, I could never imagine you, Carlos, in lockdown, in sweatpants and a t-shirt.
Well, I'm right now with my underwear. No, I'm kidding.
Don't say that. You'll get everybody hot and bothered.
No. I'm kidding. I have a nice shirt on. So I must say, one of the beauty of El Divo, and I think that's one of the fantastic thing of El Divo, because it's a kind of a mix of a rat package style with those tuxedos, Armani suits, with those things. And I think that has been something special. And I think El Divo, not wearing this kind of suits when you sing, it wouldn't be El Divo. It's like as I said, the Rat Pack without those suits, they wouldn't be the Rat Pack. So I think that's your sense.
We absolutely love them. Tony, actually, one of your fans, said, who dresses you, who styles you? And Armani, I mean, that's got to be the best. So fantastic. Big tick there, Carlos.
It is. Armani suits. I think for the man, Armani is the best one. My opinion.
Fab. Now, getting back to your performing, you have performed for some of the most incredible people. You've performed for Obama, Bush, the Queen. Is there any particular performance that you and the rest of Il Divo think, wow, that was it?
It wasn't really. I mean, when we did this tour with Barbara Streisand, That was amazing. Look,
I love her.
just being at the Madison Square Garden, there was all the actors: Robert De Niro, Ben Stiller, Oprah Winfrey, all the politicians. And I remember at the intermission, suddenly someone knocked in our door at the dressing room, and I opened the door, and suddenly it was Hillary Clinton. She said, "Hey guys, I'm a very big fan of you. Can I make a photo with you?" And I said, "Oh, yes, of course." So I just told the guys, "Hey guys, here's Hillary Clinton. She wants to have a photo." So then obviously we went out, we did the photo with her, and then suddenly Bill Clinton came. He said, "Hey, I just played the saxophone with you." And then, well, all the press was there, and they were saying that they were supposed to do a tour with Bill Clinton. So has been an amazing experience. I must say that time there were all the actors. I mean, even being with Barbara Streisand, she's such an icon and everything.
Oh,
and
she's a legend, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a legend.
Did you duet with Barbara?
Yeah. We did a show together. I mean, we were touring together. We did four duets together, and we were doing our own show, and she was doing her show, and then she was introducing us in the middle of the show. I mean, coming from down up, I mean, with a lift. It was amazing. It was amazing. That was all around America, and
that is
has been fantastic.
Concert. Carlos, you made me speechless then. We stopped right at the important bit when you were telling me that you were going to give me a hug and also give my mother-in-law a hug as well. It was very right near the end. Let me see if I can get him back, and we'll just try one more time. You don't want to miss a bit of Carlos. Hang on. No. Do you know what, though? It was just a few minutes that we missed off that. But I am going to be putting it on our Facebook page a little bit later on. And also the full version will be on Instagram a little bit later. So all you need to do is go to our Facebook page, which is here, Facebook Live in the Hive, and our Instagram and Twitter, which is Live in the Hive 21. I think everybody was really loving that. I was loving it. I was watching it, and I'd done the interview, and I was like, "Oh, Carlos, he is so lovely. What a gorgeous man, an absolute gent he was." And we've got so many people that was joining us this evening for that. Thank you so much. It really was very special to have Carlos from Il Divo, and let's look forward to Christmas and the tour and the album. Okay, well, we are moving swiftly on because, as I said, we have a jam-packed show this evening, and our next guest is a woman after my own heart. I would love to be so much better at writing. When I was a child, I always used to write some plays as well and act them out. It never actually happened for me because I never stuck with it, but it definitely happened for this lady who is my next guest. Welcome, Becky Presswich. Hello.
Hi, Michelle.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. Now, Becky, as you just heard there, as a child, I used to love performing, writing parts and stuff. As an only child as well, I had to play all the roles. It was a bit confusing for my parents. But you get to live this out for real because you have written for TV, radio, and theatre. Is this your dream? Is this what you wanted from, that little Becky?
That's a really good question. I was the same as you when I was a kid. We'd act plays out, me and my brother, and make kind of, little programs from our grandparents with the names of all the parts, and kind of was always writing stories and making stuff up and performing it. And then I went and did, well, not that different, but then I went and worked in a theatre in a different role at the start of my career and kind of put writing a bit like, it felt like something I did for fun, but I didn't necessarily want to go into the industry as a job. I went into theatre. I used to work at the Royal Exchange looking after their young company and doing kind of projects with children and young people there. And I kind of got tempted back into writing by working with them and writing bits and pieces for them to perform. And so then it became kind of, I had to sort of admit to myself that it was, it was in me and it was what I wanted to do.
That is so good, because like every day when they say, you know, do a job that you love and you'll kind of never work a day in your life. Obviously, I imagine you work damn hard, Becky, but to have that passion, you know, every day when you go to write something must be amazing. Now, I mentioned that you write for lots of different types of areas. What is your favourite? Have you got a favourite to write for? TV, radio, theatre?
It's funny, it's often whatever I'm working on at the moment, I'll be like, oh yeah, this is the one. I mean, theatre was kind of, you know, I started like at my old job was in theatre, and I kind of, theatre was the first thing that I found myself writing. And there's something about kind of being in a room with an audience and seeing people react to your words and listen to it. And then, you know, in the loo at half time, you can hear people talking about these characters like they're real people. So there's a sort of real special buzz to that. And then with telly, you know, because I write on, well, I've written for Holby and I write on Doctors as well. And I think the thing about those shows is it's a real privilege to write characters that people love so much and care so much about already. And there's something about writing on those shows where you're part of a team and, you know, you're just like a little cog in this machine making this thing happen that's kind of bigger than you. That's a nice feeling. And then radio feels really sort of special because it's a kind of, it's quite intimate, you know, people listen to it when they're doing the ironing or when they're driving their car, and you're sort of like, your stories are like the soundtrack to their life a little bit. So they're all kind of very different, and I try and make sure, you know, when I have an idea that I'm thinking, oh, well, what's the best way for an audience to hear this story? Like, is this something to experience in a group of people at a theatre, or is it something for people to listen to more quietly on their own on the radio? So but at the moment, I'm working on a radio play, so at the moment, I'm very kind of all about radio. I think you kind of have to slightly immerse yourself in whatever one you're in, and so I'll listen to a lot of radio when I'm working on a radio drama, and kind of you have to fall in love whichever is the one that you're working on at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, when it comes to kind of radio plays and also kind of, you said the comparison to Holby, are you writing? Obviously, you're writing the whole play for the radio play. Is it a certain character that you might write for when it comes to a TV program, or is it the full ep?
Yeah, so you do, so on something like Holby, you do a full episode, but there's the kind of unsung heroes of shows like that. There's a department called the story department who work with the writers. So there are conferences that the writers go to, and everyone kind of pitches ideas for stories, and then the story department work really hard to put those together into a big document of what's kind of coming up on the show. And then as the writer of an individual episode, you get like, depending on the show, but maybe like a page of A4 about what needs to happen in your episode. So, you know, what the pickup is from what's happened in the previous episode, what your kind of big hook out at the end is. And then your job is to turn that kind of prose document into dialogue and into a script that moves into scenes. So you have to be able to write all the characters' voices in a show. And obviously sometimes as a writer, you know, there's certain characters that you particularly love to write. So if you get your story document and you see a lot of that certain character, you kind of think, oh yeah, I know I'm going to be able to do this one. Or, you know, there might be certain types of story that you particularly enjoy. But yeah, so it's one episode and you write kind of all the characters in that episode, and you sort of get the story that you're given. You might, you know, there's meetings at the beginning and you might say, oh, well, maybe we should play it this way instead, or could we tweak this? And things change as you go, but you've got pretty much the skeleton of what needs to happen. What are the main story points that need to happen in your episode?
God, so you've got that side of it where the characters are already there for you, the people are already cast. But when it comes to the radio and I suppose the theatre, when it's your story completely, it must be very strange in terms of who they cast, because as a writer, surely you've got this image in your head of who you're writing for. Does it ever surprise you when they go completely like left field?
Oh, it's funny. It's slightly different in both. I think with theatre, sometimes, you know, I've been lucky to sit in auditions for things that I've done, and sometimes an actor walks into the room and they're just not at all who you expect, but they kind of bring something totally different to it, and you're like, oh yeah, that's, you know, I didn't realise that's what I was looking for, but there you are, and there it is. Radio is a bit different because on all the radio dramas I've done, I always work with the same producer. So she'll talk to me about kind of, oh, who do you think and who you're imagining? And it won't necessarily be a specific named actor, but it'll be like a type of person. But because we work quite closely from the outset of a radio drama, so I'll sort of say, oh, I've got a bit of an idea about this to Pauline, the producer I work with, and then we'll bat it back and forth a little bit. So it's quite collaborative in that way. And sometimes even at that stage, when we're talking about what the character might be like, we might talk about actors, not to cast them, but just to get a sense of, oh yeah, it's this kind of a person, or so you're sort of imagining them together. But it's, you know, I think the nicest thing sometimes is when an actor comes along and surprises you and they bring something to it that you didn't even realise was there. And I think that's what's quite special about drama as opposed to like a book or whatever, is everyone kind of comes along and imagines onto it. So, you know, the actors come and imagine something that takes in a different direction, and then the stage designer will come and imagine something that lifts it again, or in radio, the sound world, or kind of, so it becomes kind of not yours anymore in a weird way, you know, and you can actually listen to or sit and watch something that you wrote the script for, but actually be completely sort of surprised by it in a really nice way.
I think that must be very strange as well, to kind of maybe see them do a bit of your dialogue, but kind of say it in a completely different way that you were writing it. And then you go, oh, God, yeah, that, you know, that works. That must be quite interesting. Mm-hmm. I know that you've worked with Michelle Keegan on your Radio 4 drama. Was that just the three of us?
Yeah, it was, and that was quite a mad one where I wrote it in lockdown, and then it had to be recorded remotely as well. So we were limited to only being able to have actors who had home studios. Now, Michelle obviously has a home studio because her husband is also kind of a radio broadcaster. So, but quite a lot of actors these days, and I think during lockdown, a lot of them have had to get like home setups and be their own technicians a little bit as well. So it was, you know, early days in the technology of recording it remotely and how it would kind of sound. And, you know, the actors were kind of hiding in the bottom of their wardrobes with duvets wrapped around them, some of them, and kind of trying to muffle the sound. And so I think actors did sort of phenomenally during lockdown to adapt to not only actually playing the parts, but being their own technicians as well, and getting used to all that side of working from home. And, you know, a lot of actors are doing self-tapes now for auditions. So it's this whole other skill set that everyone's had to adapt to. But, the actors and just the three of us did kind of, you know, did incredibly really, and it was amazing really. The sound engineer as well recorded them all and the way they mixed it together, so it did really, when you listen to it, sound like they were in a room together, but actually they were just all in their own houses, having to, you know, not being able to bounce off the energy of each other in the room. So it was you know, we weren't sure how that would actually work out, but we were really pleased with, well, I was really pleased with how it sounded.
Well, that's really interesting, because we've just had Carlos from Il Divo say that they recorded their album in that very same way. And I said, you know, it is unbelievable, because you just wouldn't imagine it. And the way we can do things now is fantastic, mm-hmm. and technology and everything, unless it plays up like it did earlier.
And I did one with the Octagon Theatre. I was meant to be writing a show for them for their youth theatre, for a big grand reopening after their refurb, and we had to redo that as an audio drama. And the actors, you know, they're only like teenaged actors. I mean, they're all brilliant, they were all absolutely fantastic, but they were adapting to the new skill of kind of radio drama and just recording their odd lines here and there. So it is a definite new kind of newer era of things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're getting some nice comments in about you, Becky. There's one I'm going to put it up now, and I think this is lovely to hear. Well done, Becky. Lovely to hear someone so passionate about their job. So it's great. We like a bit of positivity on this show. Absolutely.
Well, it is, and it is, you know, it is a privileged position to be able to write for a living, because I think so many people, you know, like you were saying about when you were a child, I think I used to, you know, when I worked at the theatre, I used to work in Shore Start centres as well, going in and doing kind of arts projects with very young children. And so many people have got it in them to want to play and want to tell stories, and not everybody kind of gets the chance to do that, and not everybody has that nurtured in them, or even would know how to turn it from something you enjoy doing as a kid into a job. So I do feel very, you know, very lucky to be able to do it for a living.
But you actually help, don't you? You're a mentor for a great organization that kind of encourages children into the arts. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm a mentor for a charity called Arts Emergency, who are a charity who aim to kind of just help young people who haven't got those connections, because it can be our industry. You know, it's a bit of an old boys club still. It's a bit about who you know still. It's quite dominated by people who've gone to private school still, or people, you know, like my mum wrote for Brookside when I was a kid. So although it's not like 20 years later she rang someone up and said, "I'll give my daughter a job," I grew up around scripts, and I grew up knowing kind of how the industry worked, and that there's a person called a producer, and that it was possible to do this thing for a job. And I think so many people don't even know where to begin. And what Arts Emergency do is they match young people from backgrounds where they maybe haven't got those connections, but they've got that passion. They match them with a mentor who's already in the industry, who can kind of help them and support them and maybe steer them into, oh, well, you might want to look at this, or this might be a route in. So it's kind of, they've got mentors from like architecture or the arts or fashion or music, all those industries that are a bit kind of mysterious from the outside about how you'd actually get a foot in the door. And the aim is you mentor them for a year, and, you know, just kind of give them those little pointers that if you just had an auntie who worked in the BBC, might be able to just explain to you how things work a bit, or if just someone that your dad went to school with. It's those kind of informal relationships that are so kind of hard if you've not got that, and the kind of questions that people would maybe feel, oh, I don't know how to ask this question. So it's just kind of advice. It's kind of giving people that support, and as well as the mentoring, the network kind of, you know, if you're a person who works in the arts or in fashion or music or any of those industries, and you maybe haven't got the time to mentor, you can also just be part of the network and just offer to help here and there. So someone who maybe would be like, oh, I want to speak to a writer, and just ask them some questions, they might get past my email address and I can just answer their questions informally without it feeling kind of, you know, a high pressured situation. So, you know, it's a really great charity for people aged 16 to 25 who just kind of need that little encouraging into the industry.
I just think it's incredible, and it's such a great thing to be able to do and get involved in, especially like because you're giving back, but you're also inspiring, because it's having that role model to look up to kind of go, oh right, okay, well, she's done it, you know, I can do it. She's there to kind of hold my hand if I need that extra support. It really is.
It's like we all benefit from it as well, that, you know, because if the only people kind of getting to write stories are people from certain backgrounds, you know, we miss out on all these brilliant stories, or we miss out on all these brilliant performances, whereas actually to have people from kind of all backgrounds be able to express themselves, you know, we all kind of benefit from it.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, we've got a lovely message that has come in. Nikki has said, brilliant interview. So interesting hearing about Becky's work and creative process. I want to hear about what you're working on next, though. You said you're working on a radio play. What can you tell us?
Well, actually, it's a bit different for me because it's a radio drama. You know, normally, so it's my 5th one that I've done, and normally they're standalone, the radio dramas you do. So they're kind of, yeah, well, I write them for the Radio 4 afternoon drama slot, so they're like 42 minutes, and you get to decide everything about it. But this one is part of a linked series, so it's a little bit different. So they are 5 standalone radio plays, but they're all sort of linked. So it's kind of a new skill for me, kind of transferring some of what you do maybe on Holby or Doctors about fitting together with other writers, but in radio. And so it's all a bit new, but we're going to be recording in November, hopefully. So, and then I'm not sure how long after it'll broadcast, but they're lovely, the radio dramas, because they're quite, sometimes some things, they take ages to develop, but the radio drama, it's like you write it, they record it, and then it goes out quite soon after. So that's quite satisfying to have quite that short creative process. So yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment. And I'm back on Doctors as well, which is lovely, because I was on Doctors right at the start of my career and then went off to do Holby. But obviously Holby is
I
Hobby's going to
know.
be no more, and I now will be watching the rest of it, like a viewer, like everybody else, because my last episode's gone out, so I don't know what's coming up, so that'll be quite exciting for me to get to see the rest as a viewer and see kind of what
Gosh.
becomes of them all in the end.
I know, it's the end of an era for Holby. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just been part of our lives and staple television. It is a bit crazy. What kind of dramas do you watch then? Is it a bit like a busman's holiday when you putting the TV on or the
It's
radio?
funny, yeah, because there's some things that sort of you have to watch, or not have to watch, but there's some things that I feel like, everyone's going to be talking about this. Like when I go to meetings to pitch projects, this will be one of the ones that everyone will be talking about. So those you're kind of watching with a bit of a like thinking about how they've made it, or a bit of a like, or what would I say about this if somebody asked me. But then there's other shows you just get completely lost in. I mean, I like stuff. I often like Northern stuff. I often like stuff with like, brilliant female characters. I'm not great with anything too dark because I've got I've got 3 quite young children, and since I've had them I've been like so soft for things, anything kind of about
Yeah,
kids
I was like that. Yeah.
can't handle it anymore. I think I used to be a bit tougher, but now or I don't mind if it's a tough subject matter, but it's done with a bit of humour as well, or there's a bit of hope and sort of. My top recommendation at the moment is Alma's Not Normal. Have you seen that? It's set in
I
Bolton.
haven't. I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, really, really, really brilliant. And again, it's about something, it's not kind of light and fluffy. It's about kind of quite complicated lives, but it just does it in a way that's so sort of full of joy. So that, I think that's my favourite, is when something manages to be about something quite meaty, but tell it in a way that's really sort of joyful still.
Brilliant. Well, that is going to be on my list. I think that's still on BBC iPlayer, so I shall go and catch up on that. And I'm going to be looking out for your radio plays coming out in November. That'll be fantastic. And all the most amazing things that you have coming up, because like I say, you've got your finger in every little pie. So just be watching out for the name now. Everyone will be watching the credits going, oh, that's Becky. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and we'll speak to you hopefully another time.
Thanks, Michelle. Take care. Bye.
Take care, Becky. Bye-bye. Oh, Becky Prestwich, absolutely fantastic lady. And my gosh, what a talent that is, to be able to turn your hand to write for so many different areas of kind of broadcast and theatre as well. And what an exciting life. You get to write for so many different characters. It's brilliant. So, are you ready for some more action? I hope so. Yes. Well, get yourself settled, because we are about to rock out. Now, I promise you this guy a little bit later on. He is, of course, the star of Bat Out of Hell, the musical. And if you haven't seen it yet, I would say definitely head to the Opera House before it goes off. It's on until October the 2nd. And I met with Glenn, who is Glenn Adamson, who plays the main character, Strat, a little bit earlier this week. And he told me all about what it is like starring in this musical. Glenn, it is so good to have you on Live in the Hive. And you're in your dressing room, aren't you?
I'm actually in the company manager's office today instead, yeah. So I thought I'd save, I wouldn't show you where the magic happens just yet.
Oh, okay. Is that only for the special people?
It's very messy, my dressing room. It's carnage in there. It's covered in blood and confetti, and yeah, we've got 2 weeks worth in there now.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can imagine. I came to see the show last week. It is absolutely phenomenal. A phenomenal. Can't even get my words out. I'm that excited. Of course, I'm talking about Bat Out of Hell, the musical. You're at the Opera House in Manchester. How does it feel to be starring in this show as the rebel Strat? You're the leading man, Glenn.
I am, yeah. I still pinch myself every day, really. Yeah, I mean, it feels amazing. It feels especially amazing after everything we've been through over the last 18 months. Obviously, we were 2 weeks in when lockdown first hit. So I always say it was sweet before, but it's twice as sweet now. Yeah, it really feels, we all feel so lucky. We're all so blessed to be here. And it's a show that I really love and I've loved for a long time. I really, really wanted this show.
And you are absolutely perfect for the role of Strat, because he is just the ultimate rocker. And when you get on that stage, the energy that comes from you is absolutely incredible. Now, we're talking about, it's quite a long show. We've got epic songs, the songs of Jim Steinman and Meatloaf, that are longer than the usual 3 minutes. How do you keep that energy going? Because I imagine, 8 shows a week?
Yeah, I do 6. Yeah, I do 6 shows a week, but yeah, 7 shows of the cast do. But yeah, it is full on. I say Bat Out of Hell, the actual song as the end of Act 1, is a marathon. We always say it's a marathon. You've got to really build up to it, and it goes for 8.5 minutes, I think. And it's jumping off the bike, jumping off the rocks, jumping through fire, covering in blood. It's very you do come off like, oh wow, that's a workout and a half.
Well, we can see all the cast there jumping behind. There is lots and lots of excitement that goes on. Is you on the bike there with the Bat Out of Hell number? Can you actually ride a motorbike?
No, I can't, which you might be able to notice sometimes. I keep thinking, how do I start this thing? Where's the ignition? Where's the key? But no, I don't. No, I would love to, but I think I'd be terrible. I'm so clumsy. Can barely ride a push bike without falling off. So,
well, I'm glad that wasn't one of the remits of getting the part. And you bagged the part unbelievably well. What was it like, that audition process back then? Obviously, you said you love the show already, so I imagine there was quite a lot of nerves involved. But how did it feel to be, up for that role?
Yeah, amazing. I just finished doing American Idiot, which is the Green Day musical at the time, and it was very sort of similar. Like, I was very much in the rock world at the time, and actually I wore parts of my costume. I took them out of the theatre from American Idiot and thought, I'm just gonna wear all this rock merch that I've got now, and went in, and it was really intense, and sort of I just rocked out basically for them and loved it and knew the show. But then towards the end, they brought me and Martha together. Martha, who plays Raven, and we sang For Crying Out Loud, which you'll have seen in the show. We did that together on the very last day for all the producers, all the director, the MD, musical supervisor. And I think when we came together was the first time I thought, actually, I feel like this is right, this combo. Obviously, the whole time I've been thinking, I'm not going to get this. Like, there's amazing people in for it. But when we came together, I thought the chemistry between us felt really good. We both left and were like, wow, actually, that was quite special to have in an audition room.
You've got to have that fusion, because that is really central to the story. You've got Strat. He's the rebel. He's the leader of the Lost Boys. I say the Lost Boys because it really does resonate. Like, it's got this Peter Pan feel about it, hasn't it? Really, and you being, the Peter Pan, forever young, and Martha as well, playing Raven, is your love interest, who is from this straight-laced family. She's got this draconian kind of dad, Falco, and this Sloane, I've got to say, played by Sharon Sexton, is just the most hilarious character as kind of a mum in the role, Glenn. But it does rely on those sparks flying between you and Martha as Raven, and if you've got that, I suppose that was just it.
Yeah, there's a lot of trust between the two of you, and sort of the physical aspect of the show is that when we do a number, they'll say if one moves, the other one has to counter it. Like, you're always connected throughout. So it's you have to really sort of trust each other and get on with each other, I think, to sort of create that and have that connection, which we did have from sort of as soon as we met, I think. So I think that's quite special to the show, yeah.
Now, I know I tried to describe the show then. It is quite a difficult show to describe, though, because it's kind of like a little bit of everything. I mean, there's so much drama in there. There's a lot of humour. How would you describe it for anyone who's not come to see it yet?
Oh, I think I'd describe it as just a massive party. Like, it is just a great night out. And also, I think we always say that sort of pandemic, everyone would think, well, this is far-fetched, isn't it? It's a world where Raven is locked in her house. She's not been allowed out for sort of the last 18 years. and she's looked out on the world and been like, what's that like? And there's no physical contact between her and anyone else. And then you've got all these people that have sort of infected with this virus that's made them stay forever young. But now when we came to rehearsals this time, I think it was Sharon and Rob that were like, suddenly it doesn't feel so far-fetched, does it? Suddenly we're like, actually, this has happened. So it's not gone the way that we all stay forever young, if only. But but it's sort of not as out there anymore. So story-wise, it sort of rings a lot truer, I think, than it ever did. I just think, but the music is so good. Like, it's just every song, night after night, people go crazy for it, and just in the same way I would. But
absolutely.
It's amazing.
Well, I think it is probably the best time to take a look at you in action. We'll take a look at the trailer because this music is incredible.
Wow. You guys can come to the show tonight. I'm like, oh, it looks great, doesn't it?
Fabulous. Absolutely fantastic. You mentioned kind of the fans there. You must have super Bat fans who come and see it night after night, yeah?
Yeah, the Bat fam, they're so loyal to it. They love it. There's something about this show that sort of really resonates with people, and they find it and they come back night after night. And it's just amazing how much they love the show. And so I think we feel a lot of responsibility towards them to keep it, you know, as big a spectacle as it was when it was at the Dominion or everywhere else it's been throughout the world. So even though this is a touring version and you can't have shows as big and grand as they are in town when you've got to take them to all these different theatres, but we tried to still keep it feeling massive, which for me as a touring show, you still look at the set and you're like, wow, for a touring show, this is massive. This feels amazing. Yeah.
It's so impressive. I mean, you've got the bikes, you've got the fire, like you said, you've got the cannons, you've got these amazing big screens on there, and an onstage camera person that kind of captures the action in it. And it almost feels like a music video at some times. It's as epic as Simon and Meatloaf songs. It really, really is. And talking about Jim Steinman, I know he passed earlier this year, and so this tour is dedicated to him, isn't it? That must be quite difficult for some of the people on tour, because I imagine, did you meet Jim Steinman? Because you've got the original cast members, Sharon Sexton, who I mentioned, and Rob Fowler, who plays Falco. So has that been more poignant?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they worked with him before, and I know when we were in rehearsals for it pre-pandemic, a lot of this stuff would be filmed and shared with Jim, and we would talk about sort of what he had said. And I think now, certainly the song Rock and Roll Dreams, in Act 2, in the show, that's set up as if it's for Tink on behalf of where the plot has gone for his character, and we sing that to him. But actually, the way we look at it now is that every night is sort of a tribute to Jim, and and so there's a lot that resonates in that song for us now, where we're doing it for the plot, but we are really doing it, you know, as a tribute to Jim every night, that particular song. And you know, just trying to stay as true to his music as possible now, rather than, you know, a lot of shows you'll go and see, people have the dots, but they will ad lib around the music. We're very much now trying to be like, this is how Jim intended it to be sung. This is how we'll sing it night after night for him, you know.
And what a legacy. I mean,
absolutely.
The songs, the show. I heard as well, and I think you just mentioned it then, about he used to watch like streams of it every
Yeah.
night, you know, so it was just his baby completely.
Yeah, the musical was always the dream before sort of. I mean, that was how it became Bat Out of Hell. The musical was called The Dream Engine, and he lost the rights to the script of Peter Pan at the time, so they had to release it as Bat Out of Hell concept album with Meatloaf. But originally, it was always intended. That's why the songs are so theatrical. He'd always sort of intended to put them in a musical about Peter Pan. And so they always say, at least, you know, before he went, his dream was finally a reality, because it's like, God, it must be in the 60s, 70s when that happened. I think actually someone shared with us the original audition post that he'd put out way back when, looking for the cast for the show. And it was
Incredible.
yeah, absolutely amazing. And he'd put on there, you know, I don't want this to be one of those boring musicals that are currently on Broadway, you know, and he'd wrote this whole thing about what he intended. And yeah, so I think we're really trying to do this for him. Yeah.
If that doesn't give the message to people out there to never give up, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I mean,
Now,
the musical, his legacy, amazing.
have you had any words from Meatloaf?
No, but I know that obviously Sharon and Rob have, and he loved it way back when. Yeah, when it was in town, I know that he had said to them he didn't know sort of how they were going to make a song like Anything for Love. You know, I would do anything for love, but I wouldn't do that. He didn't know how they were going to put that into a show, and then when he came and saw it, he was like, wow, that just made sense, you know, exactly the way you sort of made sense of those songs. I think these songs, they lend so well to theatre. It doesn't feel like they're forced into it. They do have a narrative to them anyway as songs. So I think it was impressive for him to see that.
Oh, 100%, 100%. It must be good for you being back in the north, though. I know you trained at Lipper, didn't you? So is it great to kind of see where you first started out?
Oh, I love it up here. All of this sort of M62 corridor for me is like Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool. It's all sort of, this is where I feel most comfortable. I did try and stay in Liverpool for as long as possible, and then I moved to Leeds for a bit, and I lived in Manchester for a bit, but eventually I just had to go. I was spending so much in trains that I thought I've just got to go down now. But yeah, these are the venues that I get most excited about, always sort of doing Manchester, Liverpool. I love doing Sheffield as well. They love their rock shows, sort of that end. So yeah, for me, the North, I'm showing everyone.
Have great audiences. We do.
Yeah, you do. Everyone's so much more vocal here, and I love that. Everyone's friendly, aren't they? Really friendly up north.
Well, I know that you're on stage tonight. That's why we can't have you live in the Hive. And I'm loving the fact we're getting some of the noise from the speakers, and we've got this feeling that it's all happening in the theatre, you know, wow. Have you got any pre-show ritual that you do, or you or the cast do? Because I always wonder, you know, what it's like just before you kind of go on and how you get that level of energy.
Oh, do you know what? We'll do a cast warm up together, and we'll all do that, and we'll get pumped. And then in my dressing room, I will play Bon Jovi before the show, always, because that's sort of, they're my favourite band.
Favourite track?
Well, it depends really on the vibe, but probably I'd play It's My Life or Living on a Prayer. You know, I'll be playing that always, though. Just before I go on, I'll play Always. And it's actually the song that I sang for my battle audition, was Always by Bon Jovi. It was my first song.
So that's a good luck charm.
Yeah, so I'll play that. And while I'm having that, I'll be really rock and roll and drink a cup of tea with some honey in it, just like Elvis. That's an Elvis trick. Elvis used to do that, so I do that.
I'll edit that bit out, you know.
Yeah, because it might ruin my street cred.
He told me it was like some whiskey.
If it works for Elvis, it works for me, Michelle.
Of course it does. We've got to take it from the king, and you certainly rock out there, so it's definitely working. Do you know what? Thank you so much. Rock on for the rest of the tour. And it was thrilling to see you action, and everybody should go and see it. It runs at the Opera House now until the 2nd of October, but then you're off continuously, aren't you? So you've got a long time to rock, Glenn.
We've got a long time, 16 months, so come and catch us somewhere, please.
Absolutely. Well, you take care. We'll see you soon.
Too. Thanks, Michelle.
Rock on! Oh, Glenn Adamson was absolutely lovely, and he is incredible playing Strat. That whole musical just makes you feel like you're buzzing when you're coming out there. Feels like a rock chick, and I'm not usually a rock chick, but I rocked with the best of them when I went to see Bat Out of Hell the musical, and you can't fault the music of Meatloaf and Steinman. Really classic songs. But I'm afraid that's where we say goodbye for this evening, because we have had, as I say, a jam-packed show. I hope you've really enjoyed it. Thanks so much to the guests that I've had on. We've had, Carlos from Il Divo. Wasn't he a smoothie? Hello as well, and goodbye to all my international viewers this evening. It has been an absolute pleasure. Please come back and watch us week after week. You were absolutely wonderful with your comments. The fantastic Becky Presswich as well. I have to say a huge thanks to, telling us all about her life as a TV, radio and theatre writer. And of course, we've just had Glenn Adamson, who has played Strat. So don't forget, we are here every week, every Thursday night. Come and have a drink with us in the Hive, in our garden bar, and all my guests will be joining us. We'll have some fun next week, and you can get involved too, because you saw our happy news earlier on this evening. If you want to send us your happy news this week, please do get in touch with us. All you need to do is email Live in the Hive UK. It's just down there at gmail.com. Be great to have a photo as well. And if you don't like email, just let us know on Facebook or Instagram, and Aunt Daisy will be reading out your happy news and celebrating with you all. So until next week, I'm going to say a big goodbye for now. Have a safe week, and I'll see you live in the Hive next Thursday. Ta-ra!